Hey guys, this is Dana, and this is episode number 58 of the Ask a Question show, the show in which you ask a question about any type of narcissistic or otherwise abusive or toxic relationship or situation, and I, along with the rest of the community here, will do our very best to help answer it. Our goal is to give you the feedback and the support that you need so that you can move forward in getting all of the clarity, closure, and healing possible. And so today's question comes from Anonymous, and Anonymous asks, Dear Dana, how do you grieve over a connection that wasn't real? Consider yourself very fortunate if you don't have any children with a narcissist. I do, and it's been a living hell at times. I think that one of the reasons why I keep repeating the same relationship patterns and being attracted to the same types of toxic people is because I never allowed myself to move through all the different stages of grief. How do you even begin to mourn the loss of someone you thought you knew but you really didn't? So, okay, great question. And this is something, again, like all the other questions I put on the show here, that I think stuff that we all struggle with. And especially when we're dealing with somebody that's highly manipulative, because it's it's not easy to understand what you went through or who they really were or what even really happened. And this is called them wearing different masks. So it's where their mask slips. So you have the mask of like this perfect partner or this really charming person, and then they do some sort of bad behavior or you discover bad behavior, and that's when you see that mask slip and you see who they really are. And then they kind of scramble to put the mask back on, and then they have this whole promises of change and everything, but they never really change. And it's kind of the saying that who we are is, or the person that we really are is the person that we are when we think nobody's looking. And so that for sure goes for highly manipulative people. And so it's all of that bad behavior that you're discovering. That's who they really are. That's not just, bad, just bad behavior. That's who they are, but they try to put this cover of like this really charming person over that bad behavior. Kind of like Bill Cosby, right? Super charming guy. Now his victim count, I think, is up to like 55 different women. So, you know, how do you reconcile who, and I feel bad for his wife, because it's sort of like, how do you reconcile, here is this America's dad, this wonderful person, but then you also have this really person that's up to all these kind of horrible toxic things and dangerous and destructive on so many different levels. Just really tragic. So yes, it's hard to come to grips with mourning the loss of this person. So how do you do it? I think what helped me at least, was to really separate that. And so when you find yourself thinking, I really miss him or her, to tell yourself, yeah, I really miss who I thought this person was. So to make that very clear, that there are two different people there, right? Because the person that you fell in love with, the person that you wished was there, was probably very charming. There was had a lot of likable qualities. I think anybody would probably miss that person, right? But it's the bad behavior, it was the deal breaker stuff that you don't miss, that you're not in love with. That's all the reasons that you're leaving. And so again, to kind of separate, yeah, I really love who I thought this person was. I really miss who I thought this person was. And then I think that'll help you to separate that and to move forward in those different stages of grief. And then, too, just for those of you out there are 5 different stages of grief. The stages of grief come from, I believe her name is Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and there's a total of 5. The first one is denial, and then anger, and then bargaining, and then depression, then acceptance. And here's kind of the thing with the different stages of grief. We don't necessarily move through them in order. And then once you move through them, there's nothing that says you can't re-experience them. So you might go from denial at first, like, this is not happening to me, to anger. I can't believe this, person did this to me, or I can't believe I'm in this kind of a situation, to bargaining. Well, maybe things can kind of work out. Maybe we can try different things, to depression of, again, how did this happen to me, and what's wrong with me, and why am I not lovable, to acceptance of their bad behavior does not define me, it defines them. And those are kind of the different stages of grief. But, a person can go from denial to depression to anger to acceptance, back to anger. So you can kind of just move around the different stages until you finally really settle on that acceptance. But like I said, it really does help to separate in your mind that there's a difference between who this person actually is and who you thought that they were. I hope that helps. I'm also going to link to a few other videos that I think will really answer the other part of your question, or that you mentioned, that you're having this repeating pattern of different toxic people in your life. I'm not necessarily sure that I think it's because you haven't moved through all the different stages of grief. And this is just kind of my 2 cents on it. I'm thinking it has a lot more to do with cognitive dissonance, a term that's also cognitive dissonance, empty buckets, and then being able to spot problematic behavior. This is the whole red flags of a narcissist series. I'm also going to be linking to a series I'm starting tomorrow called Red Flags of a Codependent. So I think actually so there's going to be 4 links that I'm going to put up. I think all of those will really help for you to get a tremendous amount of clarity as to why you have this pattern of these same types of toxic people in your life. And my guess is too that you're probably not just dating them, because I think there's very few of us that just tend to date toxic people. It's this dating, having really problematic toxic relationships tends to be a signal that we don't miss. But this problem has been in our life for probably a very long time in many different ways. So I would encourage you to look at some of your friendships too, and how many of your friendships have kind of been one-sided, where you've given a lot more than you're giving more than you're getting from your friends as well. And all of this can be incredibly overwhelming when you start to realize, wow, no, I've had a lot of really toxic people in my life for a really long time. But once that veil lifts and you can really see kind of what the problems have been, what's been going on, then you can really start building an amazing life for yourself, because you're not in denial anymore. You're not around toxic people anymore. It really just gives you the freedom to be the best version of you possible. And so for that, I'm super excited for you. But just realize this is very painful when we start really realizing exactly the extent of the toxicity in our life. But hang in there, because you, my dear, are not alone. You are not crazy, and you really can heal from this. So take care, and I will talk to you guys soon, okay? Bye.